All right, cool. So my name's Miranda, and I am currently in the welding technology program. This is my second semester. Everything is new to me, so I am literally going in with a career change and a blank slate of not knowing too much about welding, but willing to give it a chance and take on this new change.
Yeah, do you like it so far?
I do. I think the second semester is really challenging, especially since we're getting more in depth of the material, the lingo, like the verbiage of how to do stuff welding wise, right? The vocabulary.
Yeah, so far I think we took a couple intro classes. I know we're in blueprint reading. Are you also in GMA?
Yes, the advanced class, yes.
Okay. I'm trying to think what we had last semester. I had intro to
It was
MIG, TIG.
Intro to multi-process.
Oh, okay. That's what it was. So it was introducing all of them, but we still took the intro to all three processes. Okay, now I remember. And then, yeah, this semester is the advanced gas metal arc welding, and then introduction to layout and fabrication, which I'm actually really excited to take next semester.
Yes, I'm a little nervous.
You're nervous? I'm
I
excited
am.
to lay out all the pieces and fit them together. I think, finding a welding gig where we do a lot of fabrication made me realize how much I don't know about, welding and fabrication. And I'm ready to learn more in the field and at school. And I think it's so important that we touch base in school about all the different things that we have to learn when fabricating.
Yes, I think it's not more of being scared for me. I think it's like I'm a little intimidated, but I'm excited because it's a change, right? I see you and you doing what you do for work, and I think that's really inspiring because you're actually pulling me out of my shell just a little bit because I might say something like, "Oh, well, I'm not sure if I want to join this competition," but you're like, "No, you're coming, you're doing it." So it's like pulling myself out, which I'm not. Which I like, and at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm still learning, but still, hopefully in the next year or so, I could just be like, yes, more confident.
Right. I mean, to be honest, like I did do welding before coming to this school. And there's a lot that I don't know. Like, I understand the basics. I can have a conversation, but I'm realizing as much I am dreading school sometimes,
Yes.
running bead after bead in the same position, like for hours on end, like all day. I'm thinking, like, what are we doing? But honestly, it's like muscle memory. The more that we do it, the more that we could correct ourselves as we're doing it, getting help from, other people in booths or the instructor, professor, whatever. So I know that, the homework is even repetitive. It's so repetitive, but also our homework is repetitive, but that ends up being our test questions.
Yes.
And I think for me, like studying and just homework and school in general is just not a strong suit of mine. But when it comes to welding and how they have laid out this whole program, it honestly benefits me because, like I said, I'm not a big school person. So, like, the repetitiveness of just having to do it and see the material over and over or just run that bead over and over, the consistency that has made my confidence a little bit better, being in the field or just, being out there or in class, when I set up my machine and I like, turn it up and down, play with the settings a little bit. It just makes me a little bit more confident. And I think we're still in our early phases. So being that, we're just submerging ourselves into all these classes, with all these other students who are on like different paces can be intimidating sometimes.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, why can't my weld look like that? And I have that challenge because it's like I've welded before. Like, why am I having such a hard time in my booth right now? Like,
That's me right
you know?
now. I think I was thinking for a minute, like, and this is what's different with, I guess, men and women, right? Because it's like I learned that men or boys, right, because they're younger, they're very competitive. I mean, I'm not so much of a competitive person, but I see how they are amongst each other, and again,
Mhm.
they're at different levels. And me, I'm just taking it step by step, but I'm seeing that like some things I'm not grasping, and I'm like I'm like, why is it like, why can't I be like that, and then I'm in my booth
Right.
struggling. But again, with practice and being more focused, you know
Yeah, and welding, honestly, I had somebody comment on one of my Instagram posts and was like, "Oh, where is everybody else?" Like, welding is a very individual task.
Mhm.
Like that one meme says, like, I cut the metal, like I weld the metal, I grind the metal, like whatever, however that meme was, it's like it's a very individual task. I mean, unless you need help like measuring or fitting up or something, you need that extra helping hand to help, like
Yeah.
extra hands. I think welding in itself could be a very individual thing. And so when we're in our booths all day, welding bead after bead, and then like we're like, see the little progress that we do make, it's like we celebrate ourselves, but then we look at our friend's booth next to us and we're
Yeah,
like, what the hell, like like what
for
am I doing
sure.
wrong? Like I thought I was making like these beautiful, like
Yes, I
off
hate
the top,
seeing
like A
that. Yeah.
plus, like show my professor. It's so funny. Like one of my professors right now, like always comments on every single one of our welds and something we
Mhm.
can improve. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm like on the fence about it because part of me is like, oh my gosh, like I love that it's constructive criticism. Like there's always something we could improve on. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm like, cut me some slack. Cut me some slack.
Yes.
I'm
I
like,
love some constructive, but not. Sometimes I'm just like, can you just say it looks good, please?
right? Like
Can I
I
move on
feel
to the
like it
next
looks
step?
good. This is the best I have done for myself. Like
Mhm.
yeah, I do like our professors so far. It is nice that we are switching around and having different professors, because I think we did have some repeats in my last semester, but this semester, I'm starting to see new faces and they all have different teaching styles.
You
So,
see, that's cool because you have yours as being different. So my teachers have been consistent, but what I've learned this semester is like, if the only way I've met new people is by coming out on the weekend or for making up a class.
mhm.
My class hasn't changed, but I did like seeing, uh, more women. I noticed the first semester people came in, for the spring, and I saw like maybe two more women. So I was like, oh, yes, more women. You don't see too much. But yeah, my professors have been the same, but I got to meet some new ones. So that's been pretty cool. Everybody
Oh,
has
okay.
a different
Wait,
style.
so I was in your class last night. You're the only girl in that class, right?
Yeah.
Are you the only girl in nights as well? Like the whole night crew?
No. So the first semester, there was another girl, and I think she finished because I don't see her anymore. And then it was me. And then this semester, depending on Tuesdays and Thursdays, am I the only girl? I think there's another one. Yeah, but in a different class.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
that's intro. It would be intro.
Oh, I see. So it's the new cohort.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is nice to see other women. Um Yeah, I know in my last podcast I was talking with Naomi and I was telling her it almost brings like a feminine side out of me
Yes.
because, being around the boys, I have to almost work twice as hard. Like I have to bring out like I could do as much as you can, like don't look at me as a female and think that, I can't hold my weight. So, being that there is another female in the class, I was telling her really helps me bring my feminine side out and what I could do, we could just do as a team and do better knowing that we have that female support in the classroom.
Yeah, I do see a big difference now this semester than the first semester. I think we became, we started talking a little bit more this semester, along with, some other girls I've seen. But like the first semester, like for me starting in, there was like really nobody. And if they are some, it's like a lot of us, we can be pretty quiet or in our own world, right, with our own problems that we have going on. But I think it took a few months just to get acquainted and get comfortable. For
That's a big
sure.
one, yeah. I
Compared to
agree.
guys, I think guys, since there's so many of them, it does feel intimidating. I think more so now, me talking to you or just another girl, I think they kind of see a difference and they're like, oh, wait, she's a different person.
Mhm.
And of course, being more girly, I think I started dressing up more feminine a little bit. Being in the welding, in this trade, you can, be just like them. And that's one thing I don't want to do is be just like the guys because I'm still a woman, right?
Right.
So just by shaving my legs, for example, more often, I'm like, you know what? That makes me feel more feminine. I'm gonna shave my legs or my eyebrows. It could be the smallest thing. I think it took me just a year just to do my nails or make the time for it because again, outside welding, I do have children, I do work full time at home, different career part, but you can get lost for a bit. You're like, who
Mhm.
am I?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you put me on those lashes, girl. After we went for our Galentine's brunch, I went to Walmart and I found
You did?
that, yeah, that mascara glue.
It's
So I'm gonna put
easy.
it to the test. I'm gonna put some lashes on. It says that it lasts up to 10 days. So,
Girl, yes. Carry it with you and extra lashes just in case. It
Yeah.
just makes a big difference. I think I put them on way more now just to without even having to do makeup, just because it
Mhm.
makes you feel nice, especially being in school and wearing goggles and a helmet. You're like, I'm still here.
Jessica, I'm in
Yeah,
here.
right?
That one meme.
It's me.
It's me, Jessica. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yeah, my first semester I came totally butched. Like I'm here
Yes.
to work. Like I'm all seriousness. Now I think as I'm producing my welds and I'm getting more comfortable with the class, like I am starting to lay back a little bit and just
Mm.
be me
Yes.
and still find my voice and
I've learned not to be scared. I think it took me a few months to get comfortable and to ask for help, not just the teacher, right? Because sometimes I think it's like it could be 18 of us and one teacher, and it's a lot, but to like ask
Mhm.
one of the other ones a little bit more advanced, or even to ask another teacher, out at first would be a little intimidating. Now I can be like, okay, I'm so and so. Can you please help me? Or what do you think about this weld? Or what do I need to do different? I think that confidence part of myself has come out a little bit just to ask. That was like a big
Yeah.
thing for me because everybody somewhat knows, or like I could be in my classroom and everybody, I think, who has it been? I think I'm like, there's a lot of them that have done it in high school, and I've never even touched
Yeah, that's great. Honestly, I did not know welding was an elective for high school. Maybe out in Texas,
anything.
but where I grew up, yeah, we didn't even have wood shop. Well, I ended up going to a trade high school a little bit later and we had wood shop and engineering classes.
That's cool.
Um but it was like a charter school that you went to for kids that got in trouble. Like I went to
Yeah.
school with like foster home kids. So it wasn't like a typical high school. But to see that as part of like a curriculum's regular high school, I know the taxes, like the tax money does go into like school funding. So it's really nice to see that there's a lot more females in the
Mhm.
welding industry just introduced to it from high school
Really?
classes.
Yes. I think that would have been
Yeah.
something I could have done, if they would have had that. And now I'm over here like, you go into after high school, you do what's best or what your parents think is best, right? And you're like, no, do this,
Hmm.
do that. And then you kind of lose yourself. Well, that's what happened to me. Like I kind of lost myself and went with
I
what like
agree.
my parents thought was good. And then, I obtained an associate's. It took me forever. And then I ended up not using it. And then you get lost into full-time work. And then here I am now, like, oh, you know what? Just like like, what do you call it? Epiphany, right? You like, maybe I need to be a welder and then try it out and see. And then it'll be something I like. But years later, and I love that kids can now have the opportunity to like just choose right out of high school. So
Yeah,
that's
and or while they're in high school. But yeah, no,
mhm.
I completely agree. For me, it was my parents wanted me to go to community college, and I really didn't want to because I know I wanted to go back into a trade college.
Mhm.
And I, went to the community college and I completely failed, dropped out, and found another trade school. It was actually Job Corps, and Job
Cool.
Corps, they had their own little program where you could live on
Mhm.
campus and go to school. So, yeah, that's how I got back into it. But I completely agree. I think, your parents think, "Hey, this might be good for you, just give it a shot." But I think deep down I know that I was better in trades.
Yeah. And that's a for sure thing. They only just want what's best, right? And then it's like, well, I'm an adult now, so let me let me dibble and dabble
Let
as long
me
as
cook.
right? Like, can I do it? Can I steer it?
Yeah, so I completely agree. I think it's good that we're on this journey, and I think it's great that we're on it together. I think I met you. Do you remember how we met?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know you were in my booth. That's the thing. I actually stepped away from my booth and I when I came back you were in there, but I honestly thought you were like a
That's
teacher.
right.
Yeah,
I
I didn't,
remember
girl. Yeah, you just
now.
came in my booth. I didn't know who you were, and you were like so comfortable, which is what I loved. That's not. I like that, right?
Mhm.
And I honestly thought you were like a teacher assistant or like a teacher that I'm like, oh, well, maybe because she's like, I'm another woman in here.
Right.
And you were real comfortable. And I was like, wait, excuse me, my name is this. Who are you? And you're like, oh, I'm here after just making up a class. And I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah, no, I think I do remember that day. I went
Did they tell
to
you to go to my booth?
nights. No, I went to nights because I needed help on my resume or something. I
Yeah,
think
with Mr. Paddock. I was
yeah, it was
yeah.
something that had to do with that, or like I think I was going for a scholarship at the time and I needed help with both or something. I think it was my resume. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because you were
no,
trying to get hired. You were about to get hired somewhere or something that he was gonna help
yeah,
you.
I think it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That I could recall. But yeah, I remember seeing, okay, so coming from weekends, I was like, what? There's another girl? And so immediately I was just like, I have to go introduce myself. Like, I have to go talk to her. Like, let me just, connect real quick. So yeah, when I saw you, I was like looking through all the booths, like, where'd she go? I swear I just saw her. Um, and yeah, it honestly really helps me because I think emotionally, like just being in the trade where the guys weren't so welcoming that first semester
Yeah.
made me feel like, oh my God, there's another girl out there and she's probably going through the same thing I'm going through in her own head because it's hard to talk about, with anybody else. Like,
Mhm.
let me go connect with her real quick. And yeah, I'm glad we hit it off. And I'm glad you came and sat in our class on the weekend last week so that,
Yes.
we could reconnect again. Because it's so nice to see you and, just
Yes.
catch up and stuff.
And grow. That's
Mhm.
what I'm ready for. Just like to grow into the next phases and like share our wins and our fails. Because there's a lot.
Right.
I think like last week, because I honestly thought that the semester was going to be a little bit easy. I thought, well, MIG's going to be good, and Blueprint, what I knew was going to be a headache for me because it's like in class, don't know nothing about drawing too much, and get the visual, like the 3D, and 2D type of images that we need to do, but ended up being both being really hard. And so I think last week I just had like a moment. I was just like, I'm done. I was stressed. I was tired. And girl, I even broke down crying. I was like, oh my Lord. I was like, what's going on with me? But it was just stress. It was just everything in general. And I think like my eyes started twitching just because of the class. Because I was like, oh my, but I mean, I'm getting it eventually. It's because like
Your
I've
eyes
learned
started
different.
twitching because of
Yeah.
the class.
For Mig, I was like, am I at my job? Like, because I had this before, and it was just like for me, it's like understanding. Like I know I learned a little bit different. Oh, also I'm left-handed,
Right. Yeah, I do
so
remember you saying
I
that.
see that it's a right-handed world out there.
Right.
It really is, and so like I see things differently, and I know I can't do
Well, I
certain.
think your TIG torch could be like you have to buy a left-handed TIG torch, right?
That's a good question to ask. So far, no one hasn't really told me other than like if I tell them I left-handed, they're pretty good at working the opposite direction. Because what I learned, what they told me was like, well, being in this trade, you gotta learn to use both, which is totally understandable. Because if you get hurt, you need to use the other hand, or you're out of a job, right?
Wait,
So
do you have to use both? You use both anyways,
some,
right?
yeah, well, yeah, it helps with the other, but
Like
depending, yeah.
which direction?
Or like how I stand might be different. I might stand. I know that one of the teachers always gets tripped out because my table's always set up differently, or
Right.
I'll stand up a little different. And then I think I got to play with using both hands in my last mid class,
Right.
which was not so bad. But again, doing like what we're doing now with like leveling the plates and making sure if I can just do a bend test, that's my thing right now. Is like I can't even get past the root just because of this. It's all little simple things. And again, like
What
not
class are you doing a bend test for?
for the advanced MIG.
Are you doing the bevel?
Yeah, we're doing the beveling, the feathering. But
Oh,
get
okay.
this.
So we might be doing that this week because I was like, "What? When are you doing a bend test?"
Okay, so get this, since you're talking about like you haven't really touched on that yet because everybody's a little different. So you see, whoever's in my class, they're a little bit more going fast paced.
Right.
And so I'm over here thinking like, when is class over? Like, am I almost done? I'm over here straggling, but then the teacher's like, no, you're on, it's just little things. You're almost getting it. Everybody's just going a little bit faster.
Mhm.
So I'm just like, okay, I feel like I'm being left in the dust.
Well, I heard the intro classes were doing bend tests, and I was like, "Dude, we didn't do any bend tests last semester."
No, we didn't. They didn't let them because of it was, I forgot what it was. It was to save it for the next curriculum for what we're doing
Oh,
now.
okay.
Because
So
then we
I
would
think one of the teachers in intro last class did a bend test with their kids. So I don't know if maybe she wasn't supposed to or whatever, but I was like, what in the world? Why aren't we doing bend tests or getting introduced to it or whatnot? Because I was like, I'm ready to do a bend test just because we've been running bead after bead after bead. I was like, I really want something different, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, no, we're here. I'm still trying to do that, and I see there's different styles of how everybody tacks their stuff. For me, I think this week I kind of got it, but it's just the small details that make a difference that maybe I missed in last class or something, and now I'm just getting it now. So I'm just like, okay. And the teacher, they'll show as many ways as long as you can understand it. So that's why I learned to just ask and show them and go from there. And that's what
Yeah,
I've been.
so have you figured out any of your favorite processes yet? Like, do you like TIG, stick, or MIG?
I think out of all of them, I really liked the TIG welding. It did get a little bit, trickier towards the end of class, but I really did like it. I think if I had more time in it, or you know what, I think I would want to take another TIG class,
Okay.
and play around with it. It was a little bit cleaner, lighter.
Mhm.
TIG, if I could, I think I would have do that one again. Because again, I started out not knowing nothing, and and now I feel like maybe if I had more practice on it now, I'd be a little bit better. Because that one was like my
Right.
first one, but I still passed the class. Yeah.
Oh,
Because I
that's
was
good.
like not knowing nothing, and boom, you're in stick, and everything went fast. And I'm like, I never knew what the grinder was. I never touched no kind of machinery.
Are you able to use a grinder now?
Yes, but more so a little bit better since I had to take practice outside of school.
Oh, okay.
Just because it was just some things I wasn't holding correctly, or just finding easier ways. I think I was using too much of my shoulders, or putting too much of my weight on it when you really don't have to. There's just little
Mhm.
simple things like that that make a difference.
So
So
do you like aluminum, stainless, or carbon steel?
I do not like aluminum.
Really? I feel
Because
like
it eats
aluminum
up.
is I feel like the aluminum is the easiest because it
Isn't it that
melts
the one
like
that eats up the?
butter.
Doesn't it eat it up?
Uh, for me, it doesn't. I
Fast?
feel like it melts like butter. Like
It
I'm able to
does.
control the puddle easier.
If I can control it, then yeah, because it'll come out. They look nice. I think.
Right.
I think it was the carbon that was more harder. I think. Yeah, I do like steel. Steel wasn't so bad.
Right. I also kind of like the brazing because the brazing melts just as like fast as aluminum does. And to me, it's
Hmm.
easier to control what I want it to look like, which is that like dime effect.
Yeah, or at least for me, it's like making sure I'm getting the filler in right. Especially making sure I have
Yeah.
the right glove too. That's going to allow me to push it through. Because if you use a
I'm
big,
not gonna lie, it was a hard learning curve in the intro to TIG whenever I was like TIGging with, holding the rig in one hand and then using the filler in the other hand. It was a challenge.
it is. It sure was. And it's all about like maneuvering in there and getting in with your table and in with the metal, right? Because I think who was it? Someone told me it was a teacher. He was like, "You're not gonna hurt the metal. Don't worry about the metal." I was like, "I know I'm not gonna hurt the metal," but you kind of. I guess I was a little intimidated by it, and so the metal's not gonna tell you nothing. So you just go all in. I'm like, okay, yes sir.
Yeah, for me it was dipping the tungsten or like I'd touch the filler onto the tungsten or there's
Yes.
just it was a big learning curve. Like I've stick before, like MIG'd a little bit, but whenever we did that intro to TIG, I was like, whoa, like so
Yeah.
new. Like I wanted a bigger TIG cup for more gas coverage because like it was just coming out super ugly anyways. Like I was just like there was just too much going on. My left hand, my right hand, I was like, my brain was trying to tell one to go one way, the other to go the other way.
Yeah. You
But
see, it takes a lot of practice and like repetitiveness, right? Because eventually we're gonna get it. It just
right.
matter of
And I used to
time.
use the TIG gloves as like a working glove, or I'll just use the super thick like gauntlet gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that I was just shipyard stick, and that's like super thick stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like going to a thinner glove, and then I kept getting burnt with TIG.
Yes. Yeah. Uh huh. My gloves were always burnt.
Yeah, so it was a a steep learning curve for TIG, but I like it so far. I mean, I like all processes. One thing that I want to get better at is probably overhead. I'm not the greatest at overhead yet, but yeah, what's one thing you think you could get better at?
I think I would want to get better at. Let me see. There's a lot of stuff I like to get better at. I think for sure the terminology. I want to know what I'm doing, or like my measurements. I think um, I would like to be better at doing that. Or like if they said, okay, go cut me a 3/8 by this, I'd be like, okay, yes, sir. And right now I'm just like, what? What are you saying? So for sure that. For sure that.
Yeah, I get that too. I think probably one thing I could probably get better at, aside from what I said before, would probably be yeah, like you said, measurements. Like for me, it's finding the center. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, you know, finding the center of things. Um,
Yeah. And who
because
knew that we're going to be doing a lot of math too?
yeah, I think the math part for me is very challenging. And that's something that I could really improve on is like working with fractions.
Yes. Girl, I had to ask my daughter to help me if she could check my work. She's like, what? She's in 7th grade. So,
Oh my gosh. Did she help you?
yeah, there was one she couldn't get neither, but I hope I got it right. I gotta go check my grade, but
That
yeah.
is so funny. Yeah, I am terrible at fractions. Like I get it. It just takes me a minute. Like I don't know if like in the trade, like if you just get it like one day or like if it's something I don't know, like I need help in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Fabrication you're gonna use a lot of math for because you want to cut the metal, you want to make sure
Yeah.
that it's gonna fit or there's little to no tolerance, like it's precision. And so I would like to get better at that for sure.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like also taking the time and doing it outside of school if I can, you know. Um,
Yeah, so I didn't know that you could like spend time in the booths like extra days.
well, mine were just for makeup days though.
Oh, okay.
Because I got sick. I had gotten the flu. Was it 2 weeks ago or something? So um, for the blueprint class, that one alone, if you miss one day, technically, well, for me, because I know you go weekends, um, it was like if you miss one day, you sure you're gonna want to come in on this day because we missed a lot. I had a lot of material that I had to go over, so I would have like not know. I would have gone in not knowing. So he was like, go ahead and make that time up. And then for the other class, I didn't know. Just again, missing that one time, I missed so many hours practicing that it made me go behind. So he was just like, come in, let's get this done, get more hands on, and then follow me back on Monday. And that's how it was because I had missed. Other than that, like I've never had to like do any of that. But I am glad I did because I got to see you. I got to meet another instructor, and it made me a little bit more comfortable. And then coming back in it again on Monday, I was tired. I went from school from Sunday to Sunday, technically.
Mahalo for tuning in on our 6th episode with Vibe with Jean, as she's in her 2nd semester of welding school. She's working hard, putting extra time in, and sometimes that's all it takes to improve welds. I'm glad she got to sit in our blueprints class and we got to reconnect. It is so important to be able to have women in the trade that you could vibe with and that are there. And for me, that's definitely Miranda. If you're listening to this and you're thinking of going to welding school, reach out to Vibe with Jean or at Wailana Welds and DM us any questions you have.